Hey everybody, it's Friday, April 1st. What's it still, 2022, I think? Anybody still writing 2021? Yeah, I don't write dates down anymore, so I haven't, but I definitely would if I was writing dates down, for sure. But it is 2022, April 1st, as I've already said. My name is still Kevin Murcko. I believe this is still Coinmetro, and this is an AMA. You ask, I answer. You type in a question wherever you happen to be on the internets, YouTube, Facebook, I was going to say Instagram, but we're not there. We are on LinkedIn, though. We are on LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, and every other weird nonsense name that they tie to some social media, channel. So type in your question. I'm going to answer it. So I already got some few questions. We're going to get started. I got something I want to show you guys, but I'm going to take a few questions first. I'm going to show you something that our team has been working on. Again, well, based on popular demand. We always get asked for stuff, but some stuff we get asked for a lot more. This is one of those things we've been asked for a million times, but I'll share it with you in a second. I'm going to take one or two questions first. Let's see what we got here. Hope you're doing well. How was your trip to Dubai? Terrible. Absolutely terrible. No, it was amazing, actually. Dubai was amazing. I spoke at AIBC, which is like most, I guess, events that you speak at. You go, you speak, you talk to a few people, and, that's it. But following that, I met up with a few friends of mine that I met last year in Dubai. And then met up with some of their friends, some of their friends' friends, some of their friends' friends' friends, some of their friends' friends, neighbors, best friends, aunts, uncles' friends. Anyway, eventually got into quite an interesting group of people. And eventually through that group of people, met with the committee that is currently shaping the regulation in Dubai. You guys have all heard about the license that Binance and FTX have acquired. Now I think Kraken's going after it. Crypto.com also announced it. Not a license yet. It's a registration. It's a registration to an MVP. They call it an MVP. It's sandbox. They don't want to say sandbox, but it's a sandbox. And I had a discussion with basically the committee that put all the VARA, Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority, and received an MOU from them earlier this week. Next week, we're going to send them back some feedback, and we're looking to get included inside of that MVP as well. So it'll be us, Binance, Kraken, Coinbase, well, maybe even Coinbase joins. I don't know. Point is that we will be in the room with people that are also in the room, being able to chat with the regulatory authority about how they want to shape regulatory framework in the UAE. It's interesting. They have a lot of good ideas. I, of course, talked a little shit about Binance. But the good thing is that they nodded in kind of approval of my shit talking of Binance, which was kind of nice to see. But yeah, Dubai was amazing. I will be back there the first week of May, hopefully trying to align my travel there with a sit down again with VARA, potentially with some other market participants. The cool thing about this is, since it's an MVP, companies will be sharing their plans for the MENA region, right? Middle East, North Africa. That means we're going to be sharing plans and also hearing plans from all the major players in the industry to understand how they're going to attack that specific region of the world. That's going to be very interesting. On top of being able to sit in the room where regulation is actually being created based on legislation that has already been passed in the country. So it should be cool. One more question, then I'm gonna show you this thing we've been working on. I think it's pretty cool. From Moni. Hi, Kevin. Tell us more about Dubai. I already did, Moni, but you're welcome. Did you sign the MOU you talked about earlier and what that means? I haven't signed it yet. Right now, it's really just us going back and forth with the committee so that they kind of align that MOU with the expectations of the participants. So I read through it already, but I have to do a more fine comb read. There's some things in there that are interesting. One is that they do plan to allow for derivatives, futures, etc., to be traded on crypto assets, but not tokenized stocks or tokenized, let's say, real world assets that otherwise would be regulated somewhere else. There are a few things there, though, that I think are a bit ambiguous. So we'll make note of that and have a chat with the committee to see what they say. I'm sure others will make note of this as well. But we will be hopefully sending feedback to them next week at some point, and probably the week after or the week preceding that one, we will get some feedback. And again, I will be back in Dubai in early May. And at that point, I hope to sit down, hopefully now as an official MVP participant. Not as an MVP. Yeah, MVP, minimum value product. Yeah, I'm thinking MVP like most valuable player. Of course, that's what Coinmetro is. We're an MVP in an MVP. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to show you this stuff, guys, because I think you guys are going to be interested in this. So we get asked all the time about dark mode, right? I mean, I must have heard the phrase dark mode a million times. To be fair, before I was involved in crypto, and actually even when I started, well, before I was involved in crypto on a professional level, I never used dark mode in anything. I don't even know if it existed. If it did, I never used it. I used to always get pissed off about how bright screens were and how, my eyesight was fading and how gave me migraines or, whatever, but I didn't do anything about it. And I didn't even know dark mode existed. But now I do know it exists. So here we go. Been working on dark mode. Let me take this question off the screen so that you can actually see what I'm talking about here. So this is an example of what new dark mode is going to look like. Currently sitting in one of our release candidates right now. So nice and cool. But we've got a few different options because there's been so many requests for dark mode. We figured, fuck it. Let's make 50 different options because, why not? So this is standard dark mode that's coming out over the next days, weeks here at Coinmetro by popular demand. We also figured we'd get a bit darker mode because, some people just like, black, OLED black, like if you have a really good monitor, this is actually going to look black on your monitor. But then, people get really picky, man. You guys, Coinmetro community, you guys really dig into us sometimes. So we're going a little bit deeper. We got obsidian, right? Not only is this black, but it's high contrast black on grayish white. Maybe not my cup of tea, but probably somebody out there's cup of tea. In fact, somebody's probably so excited right now, they're drinking a cup of tea, thinking about how they want to look at this on their monitor. Then, you know what? We figured if we're going to go this deep, we're really going down a rabbit hole at this point. We want to make sure everybody's happy. You know what Coinmetro really like when everybody's happy? It's pretty hard to make everyone happy, but with dark mode, man, we're really, really, really trying. So we got the Abyss. Now, this is a little bit difficult to see unless you have a really, really high resolution. You need a really expensive monitor to really get the gist of this one and understand all the complexity that was built into this one. But the Abyss, for those that just can't, absolutely always are never ever satisfied, you guys now have the Abyss. So I'll leave it there for a second just so you can breathe it in. Breathe in a little of the Abyss. There you go. So in case you missed it, April Fools. We're not, the Abyss is absolute fucking nonsense. But dark mode 1, that's a real thing. You guys are going to see that coming to the platform soon. We had to throw an April Fools out there. April Fools. If anybody thought we were actually developing an all black screen and spent time on it, you've been here a while. You've been here since ICO, so we appreciate you. All right, moving on. Let me get back to these comments here. I actually have something else to share with you guys, but I'll wait on that one a bit here. Let me get back to some questions. So KDA Miner asking, I know it's more of a Cadena team question, but has there been any updates of bonding reopening? I believe they're close to their KETH, KBTC bridges going live. Also, will Coinmetro add those tokens? To answer your first part of your question on bonding, not specifically, but the way the decentralized bridges, the idea behind decentralized bridges is obviously moving between assets on other chains to K assets and also Cadena into on other protocols like wrapped Cadena on ETH. As most of you are already aware, we support wrapped Cadena on ETH, and we also will absolutely support KETH and KBTC, currently being worked on, looking at an April launch for those. Obviously not April 1st, but April, the month of. So the idea behind the bridge was that it would facilitate the exchange or the swapping between these different assets. And that generates fees. Those fees would then support bonding. Now, those decentralized bridges had proven to the Cadena team to be just more difficult to put together than they imagined, and thus they're looking at other options. I haven't specifically spoken to them about bonding in the relative short term. However, we will be offering centralized bridging services, as we already do for wrapped KDA on ETH. We will be doing the same thing for K assets like KETH and KBTC, KLTC, K whatever. As long as imagine if you had a token named KK and then you wrapped it on Cadena and it was KKK, that would probably cause a problem, I think. Don't do that. Don't anybody make an asset that's called KK on ETH and then wrap it. That'd be terrible. Anyway, so what I was trying to say, or what I think I was trying to say, is that we will be providing centralized bridging services, which means that there will be some form of revenue that will be had by TokenSoft, who does the wrapping, Coinmetro, who facilitates the process. And so there needs to be a discussion between those three parties, which hasn't yet occurred, to see how we together can support bonding. Hope that answers the question. Also, just wanted to say thanks again for the AMAs and for being the best exchange in crypto. Thank you. For both customer service standpoint, but also as a financial tool for passive income in a safe way. Thanks, Katie Amon. I really do appreciate that. I appreciate you for pointing that out. I also appreciate you for just crushing it on crypto Twitter. So if you don't know, you probably don't know, but I do follow you. I watch your tweets every now and again. I watch your tweets. That means that I'm over 40 if you weren't paying attention. Watch your tweets. How do you actually, do you look at tweets? Do you see tweets? You definitely don't watch them. But anyway, somebody's gonna have to school me on that one. I don't know do you like tweetify tweets? I don't know what you do. Mike the hike the mic. Hi, Kevin. Don't assets like THT also profit directly from a rising Coinmetro popularity? I noticed, Hike the Mic, you still added an uppercase M into Coinmetro. I'm still going to answer your question, but you did just lose a brownie point. Just one, though. I think you still have about 14 left. You should be all right, as they're almost exclusively listed here. So, yes, I think with any listing, listings benefit from being listed on exchanges in many ways. This is one of them. And exchanges benefit from listings. So communities kind of pass over from, let's say the community of an asset will come to an exchange. The community of exchange will appreciate an asset and enter their community when they're interested in that asset, et cetera. So absolutely. Just as we, if THT tomorrow explodes and everybody in China buys one THT and then we're all quadrillionaires, then yeah, obviously we will benefit as well from that explosion of THT. So yeah, whatever happens first, I guess. Michael L., what are your thoughts on the EU's new transfer of funds regulation that apparently aims to outlaw the use of non-custodial wallets? So statement number one for me, nothing in there outlaws the use of non-custodial wallets. The idea here is pretty simple. The application of that idea is non-sequential, ridiculous, and never going to work. But the idea here is simple and actually not a terrible one. So we all know what's happening, Ukraine, Russia, right? We all know of the war. I was going to say the situation, but that starts to piss me off when people keep saying the situation, like it's like somebody's playing a chess game and lost a piece or something, like they have a situation. So the war in Ukraine and the fact that Russia started that war has caused, obviously, the world to try and mitigate the amount of funds that are able to, one, leave Russia, and two, be repatriated back to Russia by Putin's, let's say, close contacts. We like to call those guys oligarchs, or money laundering vehicles, or, whatever title you want to put on those guys. So the world has moved very fast to try and mitigate this movement. They've also, because, why not, tried a little bit to blame crypto for some of this stuff. They haven't yet blamed crypto for the war, but to be honest, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. But if you've noticed, you don't see much news, at least in the news, about them trying to mitigate the transfer of funds. Yeah, you heard about SWIFT, you've heard about other things, but I haven't heard anybody say, let's shut down SWIFT for anybody with a Russian last name. But apparently that makes sense, for crypto in some way, shape, or form. So the world has moved as quick as they can to try and mitigate this movement of funds. And they're trying to do the same thing in crypto. The idea, from some level, makes sense. The application of that idea, this idea that if someone has a MetaMask wallet and they transfer funds, we're supposed to verify ownership of that wallet. Well, I shouldn't even say verify ownership. Verify, ownership, I guess. As in, the funds there are their funds, as in they're the ones that put them there, as in they came from their own personal wealth, as in, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that's impossible and never really will be possible. So when you have an issue here where if this were to be, because it passed this first vote doesn't mean it's passed. There's still a few things that need to happen. And just like what happened with the proof of work thing, everybody was all freaked out that the EU is going to ban Bitcoin. And then they took the thing out, then they put it back in, then it didn't get voted through, right? So I would expect something similar here. But even in the worst case where some form of this gets voted through, not one single centralized regulated counterparty, never mind exchange, can comply with the interpretation that most people are giving to this new law. What does that mean? That means that, well, if no one can comply, no one is going to comply. You can read into that however you want. I don't want to say it specifically because obviously I run a regulated exchange, but I'll say it again. If no one technically can comply, then literally no one will comply. There you go. What could that new regulation, could that regulation be bullish for services like Credo that combine regulatory compliance with privacy of non-custodial wallets? I think potentially, especially for institutional counterparts and counterparties. But because you have to read into the law to understand who it potentially could be bullish for, it's kind of the same thing like reading reports, like annual reports can be bullish for certain stocks, but most people don't read them. So unless somebody comes on like CNN, BBC, MSNBC and goes, hey guys, whatever, Time Warner's report looks really good, you should buy the stock, most people aren't going to react. So yes, but I think it's mostly institutional. But that's not a bad thing, that's for sure. But I think it's mostly institutional. Hey, Kevin, sound okay? Well, that's good because I've been talking here for like 15 minutes. Appreciate that. Credo staking in the near future. Credo staking in the future. Can't necessarily say near, but we do plan to try and offer passive income opportunities on all assets that Credo would be included. Hi, Kevin. When KDA staking re-enable to add some more? That's going to happen when KDA is able to generate income from bridges, and centralized, decentralized, or otherwise. So stay tuned. Don't have an exact answer on that for you. Any updates on KDA bonding? I wonder if when people post questions, they look at the question that came in right before theirs. I can answer that question for you. They don't. Hey, Andrew. So I already answered that one about 10 seconds ago. Hopefully you were here to get the answer. Hey, how are you guys? What is the best April Fools where you got pranked? To be honest, April Fools is kind of one of those holidays. I mean, as a business, I just did an April Fool thing, right? As a business owner, I guess you kind of, at some point when your business is large enough, you do an April Fool's thing because you kind of have to, right? You kind of feel obligated. And when you're a kid, you're at school, and April Fools tends to be some April Fool's stuff that you get involved in. But as like a middle-aged consumer, I mean, Google, generally every year I tend to see Google's April Fool's joke. But because you always know they're going to do one, it doesn't catch you, right? I mean, if it did, maybe it catches some people, I guess. But imagine if you were someone on the planet that never used Google. That's actually impressive, man. If you never use Google, I want to meet you. I want to tip my hat to you, invite you to lunch. I will Google where we're going to go before we get there. So actually, you'll see my phone as I'm Googling, and then I guess I can't bring you to lunch anymore. So I don't know how that paradox works. But yeah, I don't remember, actually. There was definitely something, for sure. It was probably when I was much younger, because at some point, the best April Fools are done by the same companies every year, and you already know they're going to do April Fools. So unless you wake up and think it's April 2nd, you're not really falling for it. As the Flux node update is done, or nearly done, how long do you think it's going to take Flux staking rewards on CM to return to normal? We were in discussion with them. They were rolling out some nodes. Yes, 40. The amount of collateral that needs to be staked fell by 60%. It's only 40%. And yeah, we have to distribute 2.5 times the nodes we currently have. They started rolling those out, I think yesterday. I saw in a chat, I believe early next week, they should be able to roll out the majority or all of the nodes we need. And then we already have a system by which we can easily kind of move around collateral. So I'm hoping next week it's said and done. So yeah, already working on it. I saw some chatter between our head of engineering as well as the Flux guys already on that. Thoughts on Loopring and other L2s? Any plans to list? I don't have a thought specifically on Loopring. It sounds like a really bad Amazon TV show, Amazon Prime. There's some Amazon show called The Loop. I don't recommend it. Now, Loopring, if that's like a combination of like Frodo and this really shitty show on Amazon, maybe that's going to be something worth the watch. Sorry, so layer twos. My thoughts on layer twos is, generally speaking, it's a Band-Aid solution. It's kind of like, well, we built this system and we spent a lot of time on it, but it sucks. So let's build this much less complex system on top of it that makes that first system work, but remove 90% of what makes that first system any good. So layer twos in general, in my mind, are kind of a short-lived solution to a technical issue that eventually will be solved, and that's scalability of layer ones. But as a business, I think some layer twos will even survive even when layer ones surpass some of the capacity that layer twos have. Simple reason being is adoption. So it's the same reason why I believe Ethereum will continue to hold a large market share, comparatively speaking, to other solutions. Even if Ethereum was 10,000 in gas to move one transaction. You know why? because massive institutions have spent a lot of money building on Ethereum. And if they have to move $1 billion or $2 billion in assets on Ethereum and it costs 10K, they don't care because they know the assets will arrive. It's time. It's tested for them. It's tried and tested over years at that point, and they're fine with that. No problem. In fact, they won't even move even if they save $9,999.99 in every transaction, they won't leave. So I think, layer 2's Band-Aid solution. Again, they take away a lot of the, if you have a layer 1 that is secure, has a great consensus mechanism that works, is decentralized, etc., and then you add in a layer 2, you are going to remove some of those pluses only for throughput for the most part. Now, that doesn't mean that even that there aren't layer 2s that do other things. That doesn't mean that in the future layer 2s might become more complex. But right now they're a Band-Aid. Oh, our merchant service is still on the list. What list? Yes, there is a list. I've seen it. I actually saw it earlier today. I think we call that segment of our clients gateways. They use us as a gateway. We call those gateway users. And yes, still on the list. That is probably going to come more into fruition as we get more deeper down the challenger bank rabbit hole. Because once we get into the challenger bank rabbit hole, third-party transfers become a thing. And that's essentially what merchant services are. Right now, third-party transfers are not a thing. Not a thing. THANG, thang. Is there a plan to introduce a skill? Is there a plan to introduce? So far, so good. So far, so good. Skill. I believe you mean skrill, but okay. Payment. I assume that's payment. Methody, which I assume is actually, would that be methody? How would you pronounce that? That'd be method. Be method actually, which kind of sounds like an illegal drug. So Skrill, no, not in the current. PayPal, we've been in talks with PayPal for like 17 and a half years, roughly. Maybe it's 18 years now, I don't know. And how could a company that's only a little over 4 years old be in talks for 18 years? That's a paradox you're gonna have to solve by yourself. And unfortunately, I can't help you. My future self won't allow me. But so Skrill, no, not currently. That's more for gambling, to be honest. They have higher fees than PayPal, and they're less accepted than PayPal. So probably not an option on the list currently. Hello, Kevin. Thanks for the AMA. I'm bringing up this question again. Any estimate for the availability of the asset transfer between Coinmetro users? That's a great one. I keep asking that myself, actually. We don't really have any legal constraints anymore, or regulatory constraints. They are third-party transfers, now that we're talking about third-party transfers, but the third-party transfers to KYC individuals on our platform. So that kind of removes the risk of having third-party transfers. I'm actually going to bring this up again with Product, who maybe can hear me because I talk loud and our office echoes like crazy. But I will bring that up again. I'm taking a note on one of my trusty old school sticky note things, which I have stuck all over my desk. So I'll let you know. Ping me on Telegram. Tag me on Telegram. Yeah. Your salary and that of your leadership team, please. It is an AMA, Kevin. You want to know my salary? Sure. I'm not going to tell you the rest of the leadership team's salary because that's their business, not mine. But I'll tell you mine. It's 4,750 euros a month. So some people out there might think that's a lot of money. My monthly personal expenses are about 6 times that amount. And that's not because I'm like putting gas in my Lambo. I have a lot of expenses, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So if anybody wants to vote for a raise for Kevin, please go on like a Reddit or something. Go on 4chan, actually. Go on 4chan and say that the forehead needs a raise. Let's see what happens. I'm sure there'll be some memes out of that one. And, they'll be at least funny for a while. Sounds like CM is getting to the same tables with the big boys. Yep, that is exactly what it sounds like. Which is cool. Well, it's cool. It's also, yeah, it's cool at the end of the day. I mean, this way, at least when I say something bad about Binance, I can say it to Binance. Maybe I'll bring Will Smith with me just in case. Hi, Kevin. Love the t-shirt. Maybe a few weeks or months ago, how CM was thinking to put forward some artists like the other one you promoted with some NFTs. Are you guys still doing something around that? I think I want to do something around that. I do want to get some artists from our community to help us kind of delve into more of that NFT world and gamifying Coinmetro using crowdsourced NFTs. We've been talking about it. Can't say that we have like concrete stuff on paper yet, but we've been talking about it. Hamish, hey Kevin, any chance someone can find out what happened to Honza Coin? Well, Honza Coin, so anybody, this is a long story, but so Honza Coin, we leased our token platform, our ICO platform to them so they could do a token raise. The idea behind Honza Coin, if I remember correctly, was essentially to be a platform for tokenization of real estate. That platform, as far as I know, up to this point, hasn't actually been created. Honza Coins were never, well, we never minted them. So I'm not sure if Honza Coin minted them. They were never minted by Coinmetro or in conjunction with us, or we never provide services to them to mint them. So yeah, I unfortunately, I have no information. Only they do. They're still on Telegram, so I think their group is still open. You can ask them there. Any plans to have fees on Coinmetro to be paid with XCM as opposed to the asset you are swapping to from, etc.? Something we could do, sure. Obviously, right now, when you stake XCM, you get discounts on the fees in the underlying asset. Having like a gas tank where you can pay from XCM, maybe for an additional discount, is something that we have discussed, but not yet necessarily on the roadmap. Marketing was supposed to start up again at the end of the month. Is that still the case? Still have a few things that we're tightening up. We had a really great board meeting this week about some of the things we still need to tighten up around the business. Marketing is going to start, though, before the 15th of April. That's going to start with a few different campaigns, including educational is going to be a big one, and that's going to go out on a few different channels, some channels that we've never used yet for advertising. But yes, things are in motion. That's about 2 weeks behind what we initially calculated around January, which was the end of March. Now it's mid-April. But I've been having meetings with growth, marketing, product, compliance, etc., finance, all about not necessarily just about marketing, but about what needs to be done so that we can push. We got company-wide KPIs now for exactly what we need to do to get all this stuff wrapped up, super compliant and super amazing and super awesome. Lots of supers there. Can you hint when the next what the next Mars asset will be? What I can do, I can't hint at what it will be, but pay attention in about 93 minutes. 93 minutes. Put your stopwatch. Anybody still have a stop? Well, I guess not. All the phones have stopwatches now, right? If you're like Flava Flav and you got a big ass watch hanging from your neck and it happens to be a stopwatch, set it to 93 minutes. It's probably like 92 minutes and change right now. 92 minutes and change. April Fools. Yep. Wow. There was a lot of questions that came in before we're still on the April Fool things. This guy wants, Ruben, nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for showing up to the show, man. How you been? I haven't seen Ruben in a long time. Ruben worked with us during our ICO. Amazing dude. I haven't seen him in a while. He's a big, formidable fella. So if you saw him like an alleyway after a few beers, man, you'd be scared. You would be scared. Love this April Fools. Thanks, Pierre. Appreciate that. That abyss looks great for those days when markets are bleeding like hell. Yeah, that's actually not bad. We could call it the curtain. You know, when you wake up at 6 a.m., check your phone first, and then feel like you just want to sleep the rest of the day and maybe even jump out a window, you just press the curtain, and then, you don't see anything. It's actually not a terrible idea. Then to like unsee it, you have to solve some random math formula that's pretty difficult. So that by the time you're able to solve the formula, hopefully markets are better. Or they're just much worse, which I'm not sure if that would make it better. It'd probably make it worse. Anyway, would expect a collaboration with Binance at the April Fools. Next year, man, next year. After the MVP in Dubai. Don't put the cart in front of the horse, dude. BIS during a bear market. Yep. Which region of the world is Coinmetro acquiring the most customers from? Also, which region is growing the fastest by percentage of customers? Can you outline the upcoming marketing strategy? Holy Christ, PH. Let's just throw all the chips on the table. So I'll give you some answers. This one, I'll give you all the answers. Outlining your marketing strategy for us on a live AMA that gets recorded on YouTube and multiple channels is kind of like Ukraine going into Russia and saying, here's exactly what we're going to do in the war. Please don't counteract these measures because we think they're really good. So anyway, which region is growing fastest? As of the end of last year, it was the US, 55% of all onboarded clients. I believe right now that has tapered off a bit, but in terms of growth, it's still going to be the US is the fastest growing market for us. Also, which region is growing the fastest by number of customers? wait a minute, which region of the world is Coinmetro acquiring the most customers from? And also which region is growing the fastest? I think they are actually both the US, actually. Both, the answer to both those questions. Upcoming marketing strategy is going to revolve a bit around education. It's going to be on multiple distribution channels, some channels that we've never used before, all online, all somewhat tied to something social in nature. We also have some additional ideas that are a little bit outside the box, but those will start probably more in May and June. In April, by the 15th, we will start rolling out what is mostly educational based, but across multiple platforms. Hi, Kevin. From what I understand, major companies and TradeFi constantly break rules and regulations and make enough money to pay fines. If all companies did this, what's the edge of CM? Well, that's not actually true. So if that was true, then you'd never have companies closed down by regulators and/or that get closed down because they can't regulate. And that list is long. Yes, there is a strategy in any business, healthcare included, by the way, where you kind of just throw caution to the wind, move as fast as you can, make as much money as you can, and hope that when the regulator actually comes and knocks on your door, your sins will be able to be paid for in cold hard cash. Now, in finance, that rarely works, actually. Very rarely works. Now, once you're established, now you can argue, once you're established and you are a kind of needed to make the market function, HSBC is a good example of this, then yeah, you can get away with a lot of stuff. You can get away with a lot of stuff. But that's because you're considered to be, like they said back in the early 2000s, too big to fail. Now, too big to fail doesn't mean you're big and that's it, and you can't fail. It means that you are a key piece of the market itself. And if you were to fail, it would cause failures at multiple other points in the market. Now, you can come to the point that Binance kind of fits that definition, but it would also have to fit the definition of this being a regulated market that the powers that be don't want to disrupt. If that was the case, they wouldn't be pushing all this nonsense regulation, nor would they be trying to destroy Bitcoin, nor would they be trying as hard as they possibly can to try and force people out of the crypto industry as a whole. To be honest, I think most regulators around the world, if crypto were to disappear tomorrow, would put a smile on their face. It wouldn't put a frown. However, if one of the biggest banks in the world were to fail, which caused other banks that had collateral with that bank to also fail, and then they had a bunch of constituents all around the world, not to mention governments, not to mention pension funds, not to mention et cetera, that were all pretty much just bankrupt, that they can't let happen. Crypto is not there yet, which puts someone like a Binance that curtails all the rules, that allows people essentially to launder money, et cetera, that puts them in a very precarious position. The market itself is not too big to fail, and they are a key proponent. They are a key member of that industry or that market that is not too big to fail, the market itself, and they are doing things that the regulator doesn't like in an industry that they want to tightly regulate. So hopefully that makes sense at the end of the day. We're a bit over the 30 minutes. I'm going to take a few more questions. And then I'm going to have to leave. But then you can always, hit me up on Telegram, etc. Is there any hope of being able to purchase everyday goods with crypto before they collapse economies with the hyperinflation? Well, I would say that as the inflation gets bigger, crypto will probably also grow in value. And to be honest, if you take inflation even now, even if inflation triples, to be honest, even if it quadruples, actually inflation can go up 10x to what it is right now. And if you've been holding crypto for more than a year or two, more than likely you've made multiple times more than inflation. And that is probably going to continue as inflation grows. That doesn't mean that if inflation goes up 10% in the next 6 months, doesn't mean maybe your crypto portfolio doesn't go up 10% on a whole. But I guarantee you hold a bit longer, you're going to beat inflation. You've destroyed inflation over the last 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. It absolutely destroyed. And I would expect to continue to destroy inflation. So CM debit card will be coming. As we mentioned, Q3, Q4 is a target to get our initial Challenger Bank stuff online. Debit cards will probably start off Q4 into Q1 of the following year because there's, getting the debit cards out, the rollout, et cetera, will take time. Our target for Challenger Bank is end of Q3 into Q4. IBANs will be first. Other Challenger Bank services will come. Debit cards are one of those. And don't worry, your crypto will still be getting value even with inflation. What's the situation with Russian citizens having access to CM? So far, Russian citizens as a whole have not been blocked from accessing Coinmetro. How will different cryptocurrencies coexist in the future? Well, that's a hard question for me to answer, not because I don't have an answer, but I don't know exactly the question you're asking. So they coexist now, but I wouldn't call them currencies. In fact, I wouldn't call almost any asset that currently exists in crypto a currency, other than maybe a programmatic stablecoin, which is pegged to a specific value. Now, most people wouldn't call that crypto. Something like UST, I would still say is pretty close to being a crypto, if not being a crypto, and it's underpinned programmatically now to, well, Bitcoin reserves, which kind of then, well, makes it a crypto, even if it's has somewhat of a stable value, or has a stable value, sorry. So how do different cryptos coexist? I would imagine a world, a tokenized world, a digitized world, where you have, your choice of digital wallets, and that's in your phone and a chip in your head, behind your eyeball, I don't know, wherever these things end up existing. And inside that wallet, you have digital assets. Those digital assets could be equivalent to membership points. They could be equivalent to cash. They could be equivalent to passes, to tickets, etc. All that stuff exists in one wallet. And this already kind of exists. You have your Apple Wallet or whatever it's called. You have your Google Pay thing, wallet, whatever it is. There's Passbook. There's a few others, right? So imagine something like that, but that not only it holds anything of value that's been digitized. And also imagine that there's a marketplace behind the scenes where anything of value can be exchanged for anything of value. Sounds pretty cool, right? So you have an American Express card digitized on your phone, basically a token, NFT actually. And then you go ahead and pay something, you get a membership point that sits in the same wallet as your cash does, as your tickets to some movie does, as plane tickets do, etc. All these things are digitized and tokenized. All of them carry a value. Imagine being able to buy an airline ticket and arbitrage. Imagine being able to arbitrage airline fares. Digital airline tickets that can be sold on a secondary market instantaneously for their current market value. Anyway, now we're going down a big rabbit hole. But anyway, so yeah, that's how I think from a high, low, medium level, they can coexist. Does LTO have any other benefit other than over other currencies beside the compliance with GDPR? Again, wouldn't call it a currency, wouldn't call any of these things really currencies, but yeah, I mean, being compliant with GDPR, I don't think is I necessarily would call. I mean, if you're referring to a benefit as a value, I'm not sure that really provides much value. In fact, if a company operates, if the company that issues as an issuer of a token operates in Europe, well, then they have to be GDPR compliant. So by law, so I don't see any value there. I think that when you look through LTO itself and its utility and what they're trying to build, it has a very unique value, very unique values that it offers. Now, there may be other assets or other companies trying to attack those similar problems and creating similar value, but it absolutely, I wouldn't compare it with any other asset sitting on the platform. I think every asset we have has its own uniqueness. Hi, Kevin. What would you have done if CM failed? Let's say crypto as a whole got banned during the ICO. Well, everybody can say this, right? So I'm going to say it too. But if I thought that was a possibility, I never would have got involved in the first place. But if, let's say, theoretically, CM failed, I would have done something else, obviously. And it would have been something still probably in fintech, still probably, maybe it wouldn't be crypto. To be honest, at some point, there's going to be something cooler than crypto and fintech. I can guarantee you, cooler than NFTs, cooler than all this shit combined. Maybe by then I'm going to be like 85 and I'm not going to give literally a horse's ass about anything. But, if CM failed, I would have done something else. Failure is not the worst thing that can happen to you, right? Like, you should be ready in your life to fail multiple times at multiple things. If you're bad at failure, you're going to be really terrible at success because you're never going to experience it. Hello, Kev. Do you think there's a place for projects that focus on anonymity in the future? Seems like a pipe dream with the amount of regulation and new rules that will come sooner or later. So it depends. I don't know why I have I can hear the word in my head. For some reason, I can never pronounce it. So like the fact of being anonymous. So yeah, they're in finance, that's going to be a difficult one. However, even I've seen papers on CBDCs from the US, from the UK, et cetera, that clearly state that they understand that to a certain level, there's going to have to be some amount of anonymity. Somebody's going to mean that. To be able to actually make these things viable in the real world. So yes, even in finance to a certain extent. In other, once someone cracks the code of being able to put KYC tokenized onto a blockchain that allows it to be anonymously shared but verified between participants, you can pretty much state at that point that almost everything you do involved with that transfer of data will be anonymous, right? Because the receiver and whoever you're sending that data to doesn't know who you are. They're verifying you based on a snippet of code. They don't see the data that's on the other side of that. They just know that it's verified, and they let the transaction pass. They let the purchase go through, et cetera. So I think actually this type of technology is going to lead to a lot of anonymous transactions, but not how they're done now, not like a Monero scenario, but more like everything is public, but your identity remains anonymous. Hey, Kevin, of course, not to everybody. I mean, if the government somebody's going to know who you are. But hey, Kevin, have you had a chance to check out the PRQ announcement yesterday? I haven't. I saw a little bit of it, but I haven't looked into it. So unfortunately can't comment yet. I'm trying to get up with the Parsec guys this weekend, maybe on Saturday or Sunday. So we'll see. There are several witnesses that say you ran over someone's uncle with the Coinmetro train 2 weeks before the logo change. Is that why the train had to go? Well, I actually don't drive the train anymore, so I can't really comment whether or not we drove over somebody. But if we did, it wasn't me. So, yeah. Plausible deniability. What's the next massive announcement coming in the next quarter or two? Next massive announcement. Well, if I told you what the next massive announcement was going to be, it wouldn't be so massive when we announced it, right? Hey, Kevin, what will need to happen to propel Coinmetro from the top 3 exchange? Growth. It's and I've said this for 2 years now, and then everybody attacks me about it, but we built and are building, and we'll continue to build amazing products. We built, are building, and we'll continue to build an amazing community. We built, continue to building, and we're building, are building, continue to build, and will continue to build an amazing group of people at Coinmetro. And all that together means that we, we know what clients cost us. We know how much money we make off clients. Simple math now. You just spend more money to get more clients. Obviously, we still have a few tweaks. There's always something that needs to be tweaked and turned and to get us to the point where we're ready to go full blast, but we're really close. And once we do it, growth engines kick on. And then it's just timing, right? How long does it take to get the specific amount of clients with the specific amount of, lifetime value to get you to a point where your volumes and revenues and et cetera surpass the other whatever number in the list to get you to whatever number you're trying to get to. So it's a bit of inevitability. The question is not really if, it's when. Hey, Kevin, how are you going to survive the food crisis? We know that Klaus Schwab and his puppets are planning. Are you going to eat bugs and be happy? Wow. I thought we were down a rabbit hole before, but now now Alice in Wonderland. We're in like Alice in Wonderland. I feel like I need to eat a piece of cake to grow really large and then just run out of the building I'm sitting in. So I'm not worried about a food crisis. I'm already vegan. If I have to eat bugs, whatever. I've already eaten bugs, mealworms and stuff. So, whatever. There's lots of bugs. Well, actually in Estonia, I haven't really seen that many bugs. I'm sure they exist in the forest somewhere. But when in Mexico, man, there's bugs everywhere. I'll just go to Mexico and there's lots of bugs. It'll be like a bug buffet. So yeah, I'm not worried about a food crisis, to be honest. I like the our planning thing though. There is always this conspiracy theory that the powers that be want less people. But let me put it to you this way. If you were almighty and powerful and can kind of dictate how the world works at your will, would you want more people under your thumb or less? Moving on. Skrill. Yep. Got that already. All right. Has Kevin been on the happy pills today? Maybe. I don't know what happy pills are, but I didn't take any pills. I did take some vitamins. Maybe I took the pill out of the wrong jar. Maybe. I don't know. when XCM will be cheaper, when the price goes down, I think is the answer to that question. Love the transparency, Kevin. How much do you take in dividends? There are no dividends because we're not a profitable entity yet. So no dividends. I don't have a pension. I think I'm supposed to have one because I think I pay for it. But for some reason, when I log into the Estonian pension thing, it says I don't. So I think I'm just giving free money to the government. Yay. So yeah, there's no dividends. That's it. Any other income I have is entirely coming from just different sources. Remember to tell us to smash those likes to grow the channel. Yes, smash the like button. Smash the like button. And the subscribe button and the happy button and the smiley face button and the confetti button and the thumbs up button. Just smash them all. Just do like just smash the keyboard. I don't know. It should be awesome. I guess. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys. 15 minutes over. It is 3:45 now here locally, and I have something to do. And my desk looks crazy fucking messy. You see this? And the crazy thing is I was just looking for a piece of paper to write on and then just threw all this stuff here. It's just like random paperwork. I don't know. Have a great weekend, everybody. Spend time with friends and family. If you can't do it virtually, do it physically. As you know, when you're spending time with those friends and family, try to spend time with as many of them as you can, even if you don't like them. Just group them all together, get like 60, 70 people in a room virtually or, a real room. And then at some point while you're in that room, tell everybody that you need to take a moment of silence. And then when everybody bows their head, just scream out "Buy XCM." Scream it really loud, though, so that it's really jarring so that they don't forget it. See you guys here next week. I will be traveling, so I believe next week we'll be live maybe from Miami. So see you guys from there. Maybe see some of you there. I don't know. If you're going to be in Miami for Bitcoin 2022, shoot me a Telegram message. Don't stalk me too much because I might get scared and not end up meeting you. But, if you send me 1 or 2 messages, I'll be fine with that. Yeah, see you guys here. Tag me on Telegram if you need something at Kevin Murcko, or you have a question that I couldn't answer today here, or tweet me at Kevin Murcko, or find me anywhere. Make sure it's Kevin Murcko. It's not Kevin Murcko or Kevin Murcko 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Make sure you're messaging the right guy. If you get a message from me talking about that I'm going to pay me for investment advice, that's not me. Always ask for a voice message. If the dude can't respond in a voice message, you should know it's not me. All right, everybody. Cheers. Thanks again.